Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Luxury Listing Podcast. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. I'm really excited about today's guest, but before we go into things, just a reminder, you're on the right podcast. You're listening to the right show. If you're looking to increase your average transaction size in 2018, and if you're looking to add more high-end and luxury properties to your portfolio, that is our goal for the podcast. We interview top influencers, top luxury agents, and top contributors that provide content and strategies for agents, broker owners, large teams to penetrate and start adding high-end and luxury properties to your portfolio. I love to hear success stories, so if you have them, shoot me an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, and we'd love to hear your success stories. I recently had an agent share with me before he started listening to our podcast, had $0 million listings, and now he's got $2 million plus listings, and he credits this show as one of the main reasons that he's has the confidence. So again, if you have a luxury property that's struggling and you need help to provide strategy on how to get it sold, make sure you to reach out to us as well. Or if you're looking to land that high-end listing and you have a big appointment coming up, make sure you reach out to us. Recently, I helped the co-founder of eXp Realty, who doesn't currently have any listings above $400,000 and has never listed a home above $4 million. We helped him secure a $6.5 million listing in the Scottsdale area. So those are some of the services we help besides provide, the great podcast and our certification. So without further ado, I want to bring on our guest, Mr. Dean Jackson. Mr. Dean Jackson wears a lot of hats. Maybe you've heard his podcast. He does a lot of things with, some great marketers like Joe Polish. He's got a program called I Love Marketing. But he just recently launched a podcast, which I think it's great for the listeners of this show, called Listing Agent Lifestyle. Without further ado, Dean, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, thanks for having me. Excited.
I'm really excited to have you, and I been connected with you for some time. I first met you through by referral only.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, going back.
I remember that was more than 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was probably 2004, 2005 with Joe Stump. You guys came to the Chicagoland market, and and that's where you and I first connected. If you remember,
and here we are.
And through some Dan Kennedy events, we've run into each other as well. So
that's right.
Really excited to have you.
Awesome! I'm excited to be here. Time flies.
It does. And then most recently through a mutual friend, Mr. Jim Morton, we were on his Invictus boat down in Florida. It was a beautiful day masterminding.
It really was. Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So we had a lot of cool discussions there. And so I'm excited to share some of the great things that we've been working on here.
Yeah, so for people that don't know Dean Jackson or haven't heard of you, tell us a little bit of your story and how you became in real estate and how you're kind of looked at as a leading expert authority. So give the background, if you would. Thanks, Dean.
Well, we started out. I've been just next year. I got my real estate license in November of 1988. So next year will be 30 years. And I've had really two passions in my my business career. I mean, I started out 21 years old with my real estate license, so it was my first and only real job, kind of my career path. So, so real estate and marketing. And when I fell in love with marketing, that really was the thing that changed the course of my life. And of course, everything that I've done has been filtering and applying all the marketing things that I know through a real estate lens. So I started out just like every other real estate agent, having to do cold calls and prospecting and trying to figure out how to get listings and how to find buyers and do all of the things that you need to do to be successful. And it was when I discovered marketing that things got really easy. That's where things really took off. And I started developing things for my own business that were highly leveraged, using direct response marketing. And I was packaging up everything that I was doing in my business just outside of Toronto in Halton Hills. And I started licensing my systems to other realtors in markets around Toronto. And then right around that time, then I met and partnered up with Joe Stump. And we built by referral only from 1995 till 2009. We worked together every single month doing big events just like the one that you came to in Chicago. So we learned a lot from then growing a big business and helping thousands of people. And then since then, I've been working on all kinds of other marketing related things for other businesses. But my passion has always been real estate. And so that's where when I really got focused on the listing side of real estate, I just this year launched my new Listing Agent Lifestyle podcast. And I just think we're at such a crossroads in real estate right now where I'm just so excited about the future of real estate. And I think we've never been in a better situation where you could build, a tremendous business that has lots of leverage and using technology and systems and other people to create an incredible life. And most of the time, real estate has not really been equated with a lifestyle business. It's really been equated with a lot of work and counter to a great lifestyle. And I just think there's so much cool stuff happening right now that can really, if you embrace it, make that a reality,
Yeah. Well, before we go into the listing agent lifestyle, because obviously we've shared offline kind of what the model is there, and I think the listeners can really get a lot from that. You mentioned a couple things. So you talked about marketing, and one of the things I always say is don't think like a real estate agent, think like a marketer.
Right.
You're not in the real estate business. You're in the business of marketing your real estate business. So these are some things that I commonly, believe in, and I consistently say when I'm speaking, training, coaching, etc. So I'm glad that you talked about marketing, but you referenced a term called direct response marketing. Now, I obviously know what that is, but for the listeners, can you talk a little bit about what direct response marketing is and why it's more effective than just traditional branding marketing or no marketing with a consistent call to action, etc.
Yeah, I think that's really the thing. That most people, when they think about marketing, they think about personal promotion is really the thing to think about and get it coupled up with branding and creating top-of-mind awareness. So they spend a lot of money to what we would say is get their name out there. That's really kind of what people equate to marketing. And maybe the best way to describe it is when we were doing the main events, we'd have 600 or 800 people in a room, and I would, from stage, I'd pick somebody in the front row, and I'd say, let's say it was you, I'd say, Michael, let's imagine that this audience is a 800 home subdivision, and everybody in here owns one of those 800 homes. And I'm going to give you a choice. I can let you come up on stage right now, and I'll give you, 2 minutes to tell everybody who you are, get your name out there, tell everybody why they should choose you, or whatever you want to say. And or I will let you stay right where you are, and somebody from the back here will bring you an envelope, and in that envelope will be the name, address, and telephone number of the 80 people in this room who are going to sell their house in the next. What would be more valuable to you? Which would you choose? And so when you present it like that, most people would see that it would be way more valuable for them to know who the 80 people who are actually going to move are than for 800 people to know who they are. And so when you understand it from that, that's what direct response is really about. It's not about let's get your name out there to everybody so that they choose you when they're thinking about selling their house. Let's focus on direct response marketing designed to get the people who are going to sell their house in the next 6 to 12 months to raise their hand. Okay. So that we know who they are. And often that kind of advertising, it's downplays who you are. A lot of times people they really get kind of have a difficulty with sending out or running ads that don't have their picture on it or don't have their brand on it. But when you explain it, that what we're looking for we're trying to find the people who are going to sell their house. This is the way that we can do that better than anything else.
Well, with a lot of these companies out there that sell territories and so forth on predictive analytics, you've kind of simplified it with maybe that's a segue into listing agent lifestyle and some of the case studies. Why don't you tell me a little and tell the audience a little bit about?
Well, I was excited I was excited because when we were together with Jim, that was real. Right at we had just wrapped up a 4-year case study running our getting 4-year case study running our Getting Listings program with an agent, in a neighborhood. And I had the infographic that I showed you with all the results over that 4-year period. And so we tracked everything. And over that 4 years, he spent $53,000 on mailing postcards and newsletters and follow-up packages to the people who had responded. So $53,000 expense, or just over $50,000, and it turned.
I like to call that investment, by the way. Investment,
exactly.
Investment.
Either a $50,000 investment that turned into $543,000 in commission. So it was an 11 times ROI over the 4 years. Now, what we really, what was the most amazing thing that we saw from that was that, he mailed from September till he did his first transaction was February. So it was September till February before he got the first transaction. But
it happened overnight.
But from February on, which was really fascinating, we tracked everything because we would show when they did the transaction, and then we would trace back to when they first responded to the postcard. So even though in that the first little period of time there, he only did one transaction initially, he went on over the next 3.5 years to do 21 transactions from people who responded in the first year. So even though they didn't do something right now, some of them as far as 3.5 years later, did transactions this year and responded in the first year. So there's the longevity of it, that asset of you being the person that is acting as their advocate. We see that all the time. It's in all kinds of markets. I've been really an advocate for doing this in the highest level markets. I mean, we've been doing this in South Beach with oceanfront condos, in Cape Ann, just north of Boston, with oceanfront homes. We've got our second 4-year case study that will be wrapping up in the spring in Cape Ann with just the 1,000 oceanfront homes on the Cape. And it's mirroring exactly what is happening in the other markets. The real thing is the longevity of it, the realizing that it's a long time payoff. No, it's a long time payoff. I often see and I know people get frustrated when they're they do things, they run leads or run ads, and they take an expense-based approach to it where they're running or sending postcards or running Facebook ads looking for seller leads, and then when they don't list right away, they start immediately saying, oh, those are no good. Facebook, those are just dead leads. Those ones don't list. But the real thing is that when you extend the likelihood of them listing over the next 24 months, 12 months, 24, 36 months, you have a real asset that nobody else has access to. And so what we try and focus on is being a market maker. And because you've got this secret inventory of potential sellers, right? Everybody who responds to the postcards that we're mailing, when they don't list, we've got this potential person who's going to, higher than normal likelihood, sell their house in the next 12 to 24 months. The very best thing that we can do is now go to work and start finding the buyers for those homes. And so I was very really fascinated to see Molson Beer, what they were doing, because it was mirrored what we were doing on the lakefront homes here in Winter Haven. So Molson Canadian Beer would run an ad in Cosmo magazine with a picture of a model, dream-looking guy with a sweater in a field with puppies, and it was an image ad, right? Like the Cosmo girl's dream guy. And the copy said, his address, the intersection between masculinity and sensitivity, his beer, Molson Canadian, right? And then they would run that ad only so that they could run an ad in men's magazines that said hundreds of thousands of women pre-programmed for your convenience. And they'd show a picture of the ad that they're running in Cosmo and say, while you're reading this ad, thousands of women are reading an ad completely different that's scientifically designed to increase the attraction they feel for men who drink Molson Beer. And they'd go on to explain the whole process, and they had a little illustration that showed that all you need to do to activate this attraction is order a Molson, and it showed that because they're programmed, this little, almost like lasers coming out of their eye, looking at you, looking at the Molson, and triggering this attraction in the back of their brain. And I thought, that's just so brilliant. And it's exactly what we're doing here. if we're running these ads, we're running these postcards to find people with lakefront homes, with oceanfront homes, with oceanfront condos, with view homes in Paradise Valley, in Aspen or Beaver Valley, all of these highest-end luxury markets. And then at the same time, running ads in the luxury magazines there, looking for people who are looking to buy those homes. So we run an ad in North Shore Magazine, in just north of Boston, a luxury magazine, or Haven Magazine in Miami, that have iconic pictures of exactly what somebody would be their dream home on the ocean in Cape Ann, and say, if you're looking for an amazing oceanfront home on Cape Ann, read this. And we would talk all about it and offer them a guide to Cape Ann oceanfront house prices. And that way we're running and finding buyers for oceanfront homes without having to get listings to find them. Most of the time people think that you've got to get in and you got to get a listing in order to now use that to find buyers. And when you go into that listing presentation, most of the time people are saying, when we list your house, this is what we'll do. We do this, and we do virtual tours, and we do the lifestyle videos, and we do all these things, and we're going to advertise your property all over the world and do all of these things. But I learned that the number 2 best advantage you can have coming into a listing presentation on a luxury home or any home is a buyer who is ready to buy a home just like that, waiting for it.
Absolutely.
Hey there, it's Michael LaFido. Thanks again for listening to our podcast. If you are interested in signing up for our Luxury Listing Specialist certification, or if you want additional information on how you can dominate selling higher-end homes in your marketplace, make sure you go to luxurylistingspecialist.com.
So a couple bullet points here for the listeners. So Dean really talked about targeting. So he's talking about the beach, the properties along the ocean. And so you can target communities where the affluent live, right? The higher priced properties for a given marketplace, no matter where you're at. So consistently touching them I'm saying touching is a term I use, but sending mailers, handwritten notes, just listed postcards. If you list other similar properties, making sure that they're on that list so they're getting those just listed. So that's really important. The second key point that Dean talked about is if you have potential buyers that are looking at similar priced homes, that's going to be really important. That's how you position yourself as an expert, an authority in that given marketplace, because you might not have other similar listings, although that really helps. But if you have buyers and you can quantify and it's not just blowing smoke, because Dean, you've been doing this longer than I have. I think there's a lot of unethical people in this industry, and I personally know there's agents that will point blank lie to a potential seller saying, I have a buyer, to get the listing, right? So we're talking about being ethical. We're talking about being sincere. We're talking about you do have a potential buyer. And, if you can bring some kind of proof that you are working with someone without giving away their information.
When you can show them, here's the ad that we run looking for the buyer for your house. If you've got an oceanfront condo in South Beach and I show you the ad that we've been running in Haven Magazine for the last 6 months and the list of all the people who respond to that ad that is offering, if you're looking for an amazing oceanfront condo in South Beach, that is proof that I've been looking for the buyer for your house 180 days ago I started. I'm not going to wait till I get your listing to start doing all of this. I've already got 130 people who are looking for oceanfront homes.
Yep. That's a great point. That's social
the big
proof.
advantage, right?
Yeah.
I said that was the number 2 thing that you could bring, because the number 1 thing you could bring is your checkbook. Let's just be completely honest about it, right? No matter what anybody's listing presentation says, no matter what their marketing plan is, no matter what their reputation is, no matter how long they've been doing it or how established they are as the expert. And this is encouragement for people who want to break into luxury markets that seem like they're locked up by a long-term successful agent in there, right? That they're thinking, oh, I can't break in because Rick's got the whole neighborhood tied up, right? And I'm saying that if you went in to see somebody and you had your checkbook and they were interviewing 3 or 4 agents to choose one, and you went in and said, when would you like to move? How much would you like for your house? I'll take it. And you got out your checkbook and you started writing that check, there's no way that they would list with any of those other agents. Even if one of them was their mother.
Yep.
They would sell their mother out. They would throw their mother under the bus to get that check. And so that's the reality of what people are really looking for. And if you show them that you're the closest to them getting that check, there's all the chance in the world that they're going to go with you.
Yeah, I think you're 100% accurate with that. And, for those listeners out there that, because, Dean, we have some beginners, we have some, rock star agents. And so depending on where you're at listener-wise, you might be saying, well, Dean, I don't have a big marketing budget. I can't take out ads.
Right.
I can't do consistent postcard mailings. Again, free resources are out there, i.e. the Luxury Listing Podcast. So continue to listen to top experts, learn from them, just like the gentleman I referred to earlier on the show that didn't have a luxury listing, but listen to some of the best practices. I have just released the book, Luxury Listing Specialist. You can find that on Amazon. It's a $29 book. It's a great resource if you're looking to take maybe a little bit more, action. We have the certification. It's a way to differentiate yourself from the competition, not just with knowledge, but also that third-party validation. But if you do have a marketing budget, then what Dean is talking about is really a no-brainer. I mean, the ROI was 11 to 1 in that one example, that case study he talked about. So that's the nice thing about the high-end properties, and that's what I teach with my speaking and my training. My goal is for agents to increase their average sale price of a home that they represent in the next 12 months by 30% by consistently adding high-end and luxury properties to your portfolio. So, Dean, a great example is if they get one of those ocean properties, or maybe they're in Iowa or Wisconsin or wherever it is, doesn't matter. I define luxury as 3 times whatever the average sale price is for that given market. So there's luxury homes in every market. You don't have to be on a lake or an ocean.
No, it's a great distinction. And in every market, there's something that's the most desirable, whether it's lakefront houses or golf course houses or estate homes or horse farms, or there's always something that is the most desirable at the top end of the market. And just identifying what that is goes a long way.
Absolutely. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because I want to be sensitive. Everybody starts out, somewhere. I was presenting at a RE/MAX event in Texas about a year ago, and the gentleman that introduced me, because we were talking about luxury, of course, said, I've always said if you're going to sell a house, you might as well sell a big expensive one.
Yeah.
But there's so many limiting beliefs in this industry, and that's kind of what we hope to break down, those barriers, through the podcast, through our book, through our certification. Because you mentioned if there is that rock star agent that dominates luxury, or for that matter, maybe there's a brokerage, a firm, Dean, and they get all the high-end listings, and you're that new guy in town, or you're with a small boutique, or maybe you're with a brand that doesn't specialize in luxury. You need that firepower behind you, whether it be the certification, whether it be that buyer, that check and that checkbook that you talked about. You're coming from a position of strength in those scenarios.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And I think that's the thing is, start with what you can handle, like it doesn't, we had a gentleman in Wisconsin that started with 500 homes, 460 homes he started with, and, did $55,000 in his first year, just starting with an amount that you can handle. It costs the same amount of money to send postcards to the lowest price homes as it does the most expensive homes. So why not start there? Pick 500 homes and look at it as an investment. And if you're in a situation where you can't do that kind of investment, then it's, you've got to think more creatively, Yeah.
Okay. Well, very good information. How could somebody find out more about the postcard service that you offer?
Sure.
I've seen it. It incorporates, for those listeners, we talked a little bit about direct response marketing and more than just branding, but a call to action. Of course, Dean's marketing, the postcards, the done-for-you postcards that he offers, it incorporates that, right? And you do a lot of that legwork, correct?
Yeah, we've got that whole... we've got it down to the point, literally, Michael, where somebody can point on a map and say, this is where I want to get listings, and we can do everything else for them. So that's where, what we've got, the postcards, we've got the landing pages, we've got the follow-up packages, the newsletters that follow up to everybody. So it doesn't really require any creative thinking. And that's what we call that our Getting Listings program, and that's at gogoagent.com. So I'm building a pretty cool community of people who are really applying these kinds of direct response tools to the high-end things, all in pursuit of what we're calling the listing agent lifestyle. And so you mentioned my podcast that I started just a couple of months ago now, or just about a month ago now, at listingagentlifestyle.com, and you can find it on iTunes. But it's we have interviews and all the case studies that we've been working on, all the agents who are running these programs, including that Tony Kelsey that I shared with that original case study. So that's where that would be a great place to dig in.
Awesome. And if somebody wanted to reach out to you, through your secretary or what have you, what's the best way to do that?
So I'm easy to reach. Yeah, I'm easy to reach. My email is dean@deanjackson.com.
Dean@deanjackson.com. Awesome. Anything else that you'd like to add for today? What are you thinking as we go into early 2018 as this is coming out? What do you see?
Well, I'm super excited about it. I mean, the best wisdom that I can give to people is that the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago. And the second best time is today. the longer that you wait to start, the longer it takes to build out. So it's start with what you can, but make a commitment to the long term if you're going to go into a luxury market. If the luxury homes are oceanfront homes or lakefront homes or horse farms or whatever element of the luxury market that you want to break into, make that long-term commitment to it and start with what you can handle right now, and just start acting like a specialist in that market. Do all the things that you would do, knowing that long-term you're going to take over that market. You just got to have that vision of it, and then make your actions match up to your vision.
Great advice. Dean, you're a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate your time. Again, for those of you that want to listen to this over and over again, you can always find our podcast at luxurylistingpodcast.com. Of course, we have it on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you have any questions, you can send me a question directly at michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. If you feel like somebody would be a great guest on a future show, please let me know that as well. And as I mentioned, if you have a success story, some nugget, something where we inspired you, we helped you, get over the top, so to speak, maybe helped you acquire a high-end property or get one sold, please don't keep us a secret. That's why we do this. And if you want more information about our certification, you can go to luxurylistingspecialist.com, Luxury Listing Specialist. My name is Michael LaFido. Remember, it's not the market, it's the marketing. Appreciate your time today. And remember, prove them wrong. That's a motto that I live by. Prove them wrong. There might have been somebody that told you couldn't do someone. Maybe it's someone in your family. Maybe it's your ex, whoever it might be. But let that be your burning desire to wake up with your butt on fire every day, to keep going to work. Keep your pounding the pavement, because this business is not easy. You get a lot of rejections. You get doors slammed on you. You get fired, etc. You get that friend that says, I just bought a house, and they didn't use you. Stay positive. Again, I believe if you hang out with 9 top producers, you're bound to be the 10th. My name is Michael LaFido. Dean Jackson, thank you again for your expertise. Dean@deanjackson.com. Luxury Agent Lifestyle is the name of the podcast. You can find it on iTunes. And appreciate your time, Dean.
Thanks.